Our series begins with Seo, who wakes up in a rush because she has an important interview and is afraid of being late. Her boyfriend calls to wake her up and tells her that he's waiting outside to take her. She quickly puts on a beautiful dress and is excited about finally graduating and starting her job. She meets her boyfriend Phoebe and rides his bike, but on the way they bump into our handsome hero John, who is also rushing to an important exam. He checks on Seo, and after making sure she's okay, he picks up his bag and rides away. Seo is smitten by him at first sight, and her heart is set on John. When Seo reaches her interview, she realizes her bag got swapped with John's. Her bad day continues as she gets rejected from the job. Meanwhile, John also discovers his bag got swapped and realizes he doesn't have his ID for the exam. He is kicked out by the professor. John goes to the lab, and the professor asks why he didn't take the exam, mentioning that he could have easily topped it. John explains the mix-up, but refuses a retake, saying he doesn't like special treatment. Seo's boyfriend takes her out to lunch, and she receives a message about another interview the next day. Although Seo doesn't want to go because it's far, her boyfriend insists, promising to take her and wait for her. The next day, Seo waits for her boyfriend, but he forgets about their plans, busy playing a game with friends. Realizing she's going to be late, Seo decides to go alone and takes the bus. When she arrives, her bag is stolen by someone on a motorcycle. Seo falls and gets hurt, calling her boyfriend for help, but his phone is left behind at his place. John hears the ringtone and answers, learning about Seo's situation. He looks for her boyfriend but can't find him, so he goes to help Seo himself. He takes her in a taxi, holds her hand, and cleans her wound, showing his romantic side. Seo's eyes are filled with hearts, and she shyly looks away when he notices her. John insists on taking her to the hospital to ensure she's okay. At the hospital, he sits her in a wheelchair and personally takes her to the doctor. After getting an X-ray, treating her wound, and giving her painkillers, John wheels her out just as her boyfriend arrives, apologizing and thanking John for taking care of her. Seo cries over what happened, hiding her face. John comforts her, telling her to wipe her tears and stay strong. Seo returns to her place and tells her friend about how amazing and supportive John was. Later, her boyfriend calls to apologize again and tries to invite her to dinner, but Seo refuses and hangs up. The next day, Seo goes to the bus stop for her rescheduled interview and is surprised to see John there. He tells her he's going with her, revealing that her boyfriend asked him to do so and even threatened to release an embarrassing video if he didn't comply. Since Seo is still mad at her boyfriend, he sends John instead. They board the bus together and John pretends not to know Seo, sitting away from her. But when their professor appears, John quickly sits next to Seo to prevent the professor from sitting beside her. He takes her earphones and she enjoys it. The professor assumes they are a couple and asks Seo to convince John to retake the exam. However, he still refuses because it wouldn't be fair. When they get off the bus, the heroine sees a motorcycle approaching and remembers the accident, getting scared and hugging the hero. She apologizes afterward and heads to her interview while the hero waits outside. The manager sees her resume and realizes she lacks experience, giving her the usual "we'll call you later." She leaves feeling down and invites the hero to lunch to repay him for his help. They go out, play with some kids, and have a nice time together. On the bus ride back, she's exhausted and falls asleep, with the hero letting her rest her head on his shoulder. The next day, the heroine meets the physics professor who kicked the hero out of the exam for not having his ID. She tells him the hero is the smartest student and suggests he would benefit from having him as an intern. The professor gives her a test and says if the hero can solve it, he'll reconsider. She meets her boyfriend and explains she feels guilty about the bag swap and wants to make things right, asking where the hero is. They go to the lab where the hero is, and she provokes him by saying the professor doubts his abilities. Her plan works, and the hero takes the test, solving the equations on the board with her helping to clean it as he goes. He finishes, hands her the paper, and they go out to dinner together. At the restaurant, the heroine notices her boyfriend texting many girls, inviting them to watch him play basketball. She gets upset and argues with him. When they leave, she's not fully aware and tells her boyfriend she used to like him but stopped because of his indifference. She leaves him and goes back to her place, angering her boyfriend, who asks the hero to stay away from her so she will come back to him. The hero calls him selfish and walks away. The next day, the heroine wakes up to a call from a company asking to meet about the job she applied for. When she gets ready and goes down, she finds her boyfriend waiting. He tries to take advantage of her memory lapse, claiming she hugged him and asked him not to leave, but she doesn't believe him and gets annoyed by his behavior. The hero meets the physics professor, who tells him he passed the test and can join his team. The hero thanks him, overjoyed. The heroine arrives at the company, and the manager tells her she's accepted as an intern and may get a permanent job if she proves herself. She sits at her desk, excited, but quickly overwhelmed by the workload. By the end of the day, she's exhausted, with her legs aching from standing. She gets a call from her mother, who insists she move out of her current place and stay at a friend's apartment. Reluctantly, she agrees, packs her things, and goes to the new place. She starts cleaning and redecorating, happy to make it feel like home. Later, she meets the hero at the library and tells him about moving to a new apartment and how she had to clean it because it smelled like a morgue. When she arrives, her mother calls to tell her that Cho's son will come to pick up her things from the apartment. That night, it's raining with thunder and lightning. The heroine is watching a horror movie, completely engrossed and scared. Suddenly, the apartment door opens quietly, and she grabs a knife, screaming, only to find out it's the hero, who turns out to be Cho's son. She apologizes for the harsh words she said about the apartment, explaining she was just joking. They start cleaning the place together since it's a mess. Later, she calls her mom and finds out she arranged this meeting so they could get to know each other. The heroine tells her mother that it wasn't necessary as she already knows him from university. That night, the hero struggles to sleep as he's used to his own bed. He knocks on her door, asking if they can switch rooms. When she comes out, she looks exhausted, telling him she has a stomachache. The hero gets her some medicine, but it makes her condition worse and she faints. He realizes the medicine was expired and calls for an ambulance. At the hospital, they meet the same doctor who treated her before. The doctor says she will be fine after a stomach pump, but as he leaves, a patient throws a bag of medicine at him. The hero shields her with his body, getting hit instead. The heroine wakes up, shocked to see the hero so close, and gazes at him. Feeling embarrassed, he moves away but stays by her side all night. The next morning, he goes to the restaurant to buy her food and gets a call from her boyfriend asking about his shoes. The hero tells him they are at the hospital because the heroine is unwell. The hero returns and has breakfast with her. The heroine mentions losing her hair tie, so the hero buys a new one. When he comes back, he finds her with her boyfriend and, feeling jealous, he hides the hair tie in his pocket. They leave the hospital together, taking a taxi. Her boyfriend asks how the hero knew she was sick. The hero almost reveals they lived together, but the heroine quickly says she got sick while they were walking, and he helped her. When the hero opens the door for her, her boyfriend repeats the same action, making her happy but annoying the hero, who feels useless. He throws away the hair tie he bought. Phoebe learns from a friend that the heroine moved to a new apartment. Surprised, he decides to keep an eye on her. Meanwhile, the heroine texts the hero asking for the apartment key to get her things, but he doesn't reply. When she runs into him by chance, she asks why he didn't respond. He claims he didn't see the messages and suggests she come with him to the apartment. His cold demeanor confuses her, as it's unlike him. Her boyfriend sees them together, following them and assuming she's cheating. The taxi driver suggests she might be in trouble, which he reluctantly considers. The heroine collects her belongings from the apartment, except for the clothes drying outside. The hero uses this as an excuse to prolong their time together, helping her clean the sheets. One of them flies onto a tree, so he goes down to get it because he's tall. They are surprised to see her boyfriend in the taxi. He comes up to the apartment, demanding to know the nature of their relationship. The hero explains it's a misunderstanding. The heroine questions why her boyfriend cares so much, making him nervous. He says it's because they are close friends and he needs to ensure she's okay. He even suggests the hero is a good match for her, then leaves. The heroine is left standing, feeling sad because she had a crush on her boyfriend for a long time and hoped he would reciprocate her feelings. She pretends to be okay and takes the sheet. She starts to clean it, but the washing machine catches her finger, causing her to get hurt. The hero checks on her and goes out to buy her a bandage. At that moment, she breaks down crying, having held back her tears in front of him. When the hero returns, he brings a watermelon and cuts it in half. They both eat it, feeling happy together. Isn't this the right way to comfort someone, dear viewers? The heroine then receives a call from work, asking her to come in. As she gets dressed, the hero takes the opportunity to eat the other half of the watermelon. The next day, she goes to work, and her manager asks her for some reports. While working, she gets a call from her mother, who surprises her by saying she's visiting today. That evening, they meet and go out for dinner. Her mother wants to invite the hero, but the heroine refuses. She asks her mother how she isn't worried about her living alone with a guy. Her mother assures her that she trusts both her and the hero, mentioning how nice and polite he is. She even plans to stay with them to keep an eye on things. They go to the apartment, and the mother meets the hero. She tells him, "John, you've grown so much. I remember carrying you when you were little." The hero feels embarrassed and says he doesn't want to remember those times. The mother teases him, asking how a handsome and smart young man like him doesn't have a girlfriend yet, suggesting he deserves someone like her daughter. The heroine laughs at her mother's comments, but her mother retorts, "You think this is funny? You've never brought anyone home, not even a dog." The mother then brings out some food she prepared, asking the hero to try it. Meanwhile, Phoebe is sitting at a cafe, drinking and reminiscing about his failed relationship with the heroine. He sees the heroine's friend in trouble, arguing with someone, and steps in to defend her, paying her bill and pulling her away. She thanks him and asks why he was drinking alone. He says he failed an exam and feels like a failure. She offers to help him in return for his kindness, and he feels happy. Back at the hero's apartment, the mother observes her daughter with the hero and comments on how well they get along. The heroine gets flustered and tells her mother to stop talking like that. They all have dinner together, and later, the mother says she's tired and needs to sleep. The heroine protests, saying she should stay and that both of them can't stay over. Her mother asks if they're being a burden to the hero, to which he replies they're welcome. The next morning, the mother wakes up the heroine at dawn for prayer, insisting she also make breakfast for the hero. The heroine begs for 10 more minutes of sleep, but her mother threatens to throw her out if she doesn't get up. The hero overhears and laughs. The mother then brings breakfast to the hero, and the heroine asks why she can't have breakfast with them. Her mother replies she's not her servant and tells her to get her own food. Afterwards, the heroine goes to work, where her manager gives her an advertisement to post at her university. She happily agrees. When she returns home, she finds the hero helping her mother in the kitchen, cutting carrots with a ruler. He was literally using a ruler to ensure each piece was identical. Her mother scolds her, saying, "What do you know? He's a physicist and knows exactly what he's doing." After lunch, the hero goes back to studying. The mother tells him, "Your eyes will hurt from studying too much. You need a break," and takes him to a cafe to play some backgammon. Although he doesn't know how to play, he learns quickly and wins all the games with his intelligence. The heroine collects the betting money, feeling happy. When they return home, the mother tries to make them sit close together, constantly nudging them to get them to snuggle up. She keeps saying, "You two are perfect for each other, really." "Okay, lady, we get it. Please step aside and everything will be fine." The next day, the heroine gets on the bus and finds the hero sitting next to her. He gives her an earbud to listen to her favorite songs, and she enjoys his thoughtful gesture. The mother goes shopping and runs into him, introducing herself. She tries to avoid him, and when she sees her daughter, she quickly takes her upstairs before he can talk to her. There, the mother tells her daughter she knows about her high school crush. "I saw his name written all over your notebooks, and you used to cry at night because of him. I just want to see you happy." She promises not to interfere in her life anymore, and says she'll leave the next day. When the hero returns, the mother asks him to take care of her daughter. The next day, the mother prepares to leave and makes her daughter sign a contract to ensure she stays in the apartment with the hero. But as soon as the mother leaves, the heroine packs her things and returns to the girls' dormitory, spending the whole day busy at work. The hero comes home to an empty apartment, feeling lonely as he remembers the pleasant times they had together. Meanwhile, the heroine arrives late at the dorm due to work, and the supervisor warns her that this is her last chance. If she's late again, she'll be expelled. The next day, Wang tutors Phoebe in the library, telling him that if he passes the exam, she'll help him meet the heroine and reconcile with her. Excited, he studies harder, unaware that Wang has a crush on him. Later, the heroine hands over her reports to her manager and says she wants to focus on advertising design. The manager agrees, giving her advice and wishing her luck. Afterward, the hero stands outside her dorm, waiting for her. She tells him she has an interview for an advertising job, and he offers to go with her. He waits outside until she finishes, and she tells him it went well. He escorts her back to the dorm, where he sees his doctor, who turns out to be married to the supervisor. The next day, the hero gets a call from the heroine, telling her she needs to return to the apartment quickly because her mother called and said something urgent. The heroine panics and starts packing, with Wang helping her. When she arrives at the apartment, she finds out her mother isn't there. Phoebe then shows up with food and drinks, revealing it was all a plan by her friend to reconcile them. They spend the evening together watching a horror movie. I'm not sure why they love horror movies so much. That night, Phoebe drinks a lot and loses control. He starts hallucinating and mistakes Wang for the heroine, moving in to kiss her. The heroine drops a glass, shattering it on the floor. This snaps Phoebe back to reality, and he tries to explain it was a misunderstanding. The hero insists they leave, and Wang takes Phoebe out. The heroine looks at the broken glass and says, "The feelings I had for him shattered just like this glass. No matter what, they can't be fixed." The next day, the heroine prepares to leave, but the hero stalls, asking her to clean the house so she'll stay longer. They go shopping at the mall together. That night, the hero shows her the contract she signed, saying her mother entrusted him to take care of her and he must follow her orders. It seems he's trying to convince her to stay with him. Later, she visits the girls' dorm to check on her friends. She receives a call from the advertising company, informing her she got the job. Wang is happy for her, while Phoebe is training and remembers what happened, getting frustrated. He throws a ball, which bounces back and hits him in the chest, knocking him down in regret. The hero and heroine prepare for a beach trip with their friends. They set up a tent on the shore and enjoy playing in the water, splashing each other and having fun. Inside the tent, Wang tells the heroine she has her heart set on Phoebe, but the heroine admits she no longer loves him, making Wang happy as the way is now clear for her. Later, the heroine struggles to fly a kite, and the hero helps her get it into the sky. The string breaks and the kite escapes. The heroine runs after it, trying to catch it while the hero laughs. They find a seashell and hold it to their ears to hear the ocean. The hero gazes at her, and when she notices, she walks away in embarrassment. That night, the friends gather on the beach for a party. The hero sits with Phoebe, asking about his feelings for the heroine. Phoebe avoids answering directly, saying he likes smart girls and implying the heroine wouldn't suit him, but the hero tells him he's wrong. At this moment, Phoebe cuts his finger, and the hero leaves him alone. The heroine sees this and asks Wang to check on Phoebe. Wang goes and sits with him, cleans his wound, and Phoebe apologizes for what happened in the apartment. She tells him to pass his exams and she'll forgive him. Later, the hero is in the tent and sees a shadow outside. When he steps out, he finds the heroine awake and taking pictures with her phone. They take photos together, and she gets hungry. The hero takes her to catch crabs and cooks for her himself. They enjoy their meal together. The next day, the trip ends and everyone returns to work. The heroine starts her first day at her new job and unexpectedly meets her high school friend, who is also interning in the same department. They meet with her manager, who warmly welcomes her friend because she was recommended by a friend, nepotism at play. The manager asks the heroine to leave. When the heroine finishes work, she is surprised to find Phoebe waiting for her with a flower. He offers to take her home, but she refuses the flower. Her friend sees them and asks if they're dating. The heroine denies it and leaves. Phoebe walks her friend home instead. Phoebe receives a call from his father, asking to meet urgently. The heroine goes home, worried because the hero hasn't returned yet. She calls him, and he tells her he's busy with experiments at the lab. Exhausted, he falls asleep. His female colleague watches him sleep, clearly infatuated with him. Phoebe meets his father, who is with his assistant. She leaves to give them privacy. Phoebe accuses his father of causing his mother to leave when he was young. His father gets angry, saying she returned for money and that money is the most important thing in life. He tries to slap Phoebe, but Phoebe stops him, saying he will never be like him, and walks away, showing their relationship is beyond strained. Later, the heroine finds the hero sleeping like a dead man from exhaustion. She watches him, but he wakes up suddenly and they spend time together watching yet another horror movie. Suddenly there's a knock on the door. The hero goes to open it, and the heroine goes with him, scared and holding a knife. They are surprised to find it's Phoebe. He asks the heroine to talk to him urgently. She agrees and goes down with him, making the hero feel upset and jealous, staying awake until she returns. The heroine comes back, looking tense and frightened. The hero gives her a drink and asks her why Phoebe wanted to talk to her and what happened between them. The heroine starts to tell him that Phoebe asked to get back together with her, but she refused, saying she no longer loves him. She explains that when she saw him with Angie, she realized she no longer had feelings for him. When she tried to leave, he hugged her and asked for another chance, but she pushed him away and ran. The hero is happy to hear this, because she stood her ground. Meanwhile, Phoebe is walking alone, feeling sad. Angie calls him, but he doesn't answer. When he gets home, he finds her waiting outside his building. Seeing he's upset, she sits with him and comforts him, telling him he's kind and brave, and confesses her love for him, asking for a chance. The next day, the heroine is in the girls' dormitory when the hero calls to tell her that his mother is in town and wants to meet her. They meet at a restaurant, and when his mother arrives, she tells the heroine she's beautiful and looks like her own mother. They all eat together, and after they finish, they say their goodbyes and leave. At night, they're sitting in the apartment when the doorbell rings. The heroine opens the door to find her friends, surprising her with a birthday celebration. The hero invites them in, and the heroine thanks him for letting them have the party at the apartment. He tells her that will be her birthday gift and helps them decorate with balloons. He blows out the candles, and the heroine makes a wish. They all take pictures together, happy and playing a game. The heroine loses, and they ask her to look into the hero's eyes for a minute, but she gets lost in the moment and ends up staring for much longer. Her friends snap her out of it, and the party ends with everyone tired. The hero falls asleep from exhaustion, and the heroine has to clean up the whole place by herself. When she's done, she tries to wake the hero to go to his room, but he's out of it and gets a bit too close to her. She leaves him to sleep, but later she comes back to cover him with a blanket. The next day, the hero wakes up not remembering anything, asks the heroine about it, and she gets flustered and walks away. Meanwhile, Angie goes to meet Phoebe and is surprised by how beautiful she is because he hadn't noticed before. They walk together, and she tries to hold his hand, but he grabs his phone instead. However, when she thinks he's not interested, he surprises her by linking their arms. They go on rides together, and Phoebe cheats to win, making her playfully hit him while laughing. During one of the games, he accidentally calls her by the heroine's name, which upsets her because it shows he's still thinking about her. She hides her feelings and laughs to keep the date from being ruined. He buys her a gift and takes her home, and she tells him she enjoyed the outing, but she realizes he took her to places the heroine likes, indicating he's still thinking about her. She leaves him and walks away. Phoebe waits for the heroine outside her workplace. When she sees him, she tries to walk away, but her friend stops her and invites them to lunch. She leaves them to talk, hoping they reconcile. But the heroine tells Phoebe that she forgives him and asks him not to treat Angie the way he treated her. She tells him that she loves him and he needs to take care of her. Meanwhile, the hero is in the lab, and the professor notices he's not himself. He confides in the professor that he's afraid the heroine might go back to her ex and leave him. The doctor hands him a book with advice about love. He tells him that he and the hero are happy, and he starts reading and applying the tips. The first thing he does is pretend to talk to another girl on the phone, which the heroine overhears and gets jealous. She doesn't show it, though, and this frustrates the hero, who goes back to the book for more advice. Later, while the heroine is in her room, the hero calls her and tells her it's snowing. Knowing how much she loves the snow, she gets excited and rushes outside to play in the snow like a child. The hero watches her, enchanted by her innocence, and prepares a love letter for her, as suggested by the book. However, the heroine doesn't understand it because the hero, being a physicist, wrote it with physics equations, making it incomprehensible. They go for a hot drink to warm up, and the heroine mentions she wishes she could build a snowman, but the snow melts too quickly. The hero takes off his jacket to cover her and keep her warm. The heroine is happy but feels shy and thanks him. They head home, and she's pleased with his attention, The hero waits for her to fall asleep and then goes out to the street to build a snowman for her, placing it in the freezer but ends up catching a cold. At the lab, his colleague notices his fever and wants to take him to the hospital, but he refuses, saying he just needs to rest. She insists and gets him medicine from the pharmacy, and he thanks her for her care. Later, the heroine is shopping at the supermarket and realizes she left her keys at work. She calls the hero and is surprised to find he's home early because he's sick. She tells him to rest, promising to get him medicine, and arrives quickly, making the hero happy. He hides his medicine in the drawer when there's another knock at the door. His colleague answers, and the heroine is surprised to see her. They both assume the other is in a relationship with the hero. Each tries to make the hero take their medicine, but he agrees to take only the heroine's. His colleague gets jealous and excuses herself, feeling out of place. The hero thanks her for visiting and sees her to the door. He then helps the heroine put away the groceries and remembers the snowman, suggesting she checks the freezer for a surprise. She opens it, only to find the snowman melted, disappointing the hero. The heroine calls her friend for a recipe, hoping cooking for the hero will help him recover. She enters his room to check his temperature, which is 38 degrees Celsius. She insists he needs to rest and should go to the hospital, but he refuses, afraid of needles, and hides under the covers like a child. She prepares a meal for him, and he comes out to eat. The doorbell rings, and the heroine opens it to find the hero's colleague with a package for him. She sits next to him, and they try out his new microscope, making the heroine jealous, and she retreats to her room in frustration. When she comes out, she sees the hero and his colleague preparing to go out for lunch. The colleague invites her to join, but the heroine refuses, hiding her jealousy. Meanwhile, Phoebe prepares for an exam, and Angie accompanies him, confident he will pass and promising to wait for him. After the exam, they spend time together, and he tells her she makes him feel capable of achieving anything and wants her by his side. He confesses he no longer has feelings for the heroine and is now interested in Angie, wanting to be with her. Angie is moved by his words and laughs with joy, hoping he's sincere. She warns him not to make her cry, or she and the viewers will be upset. The heroine, at home, drops and breaks her mug. The hero tries to help, but she refuses. He realizes she's upset with him and leaves her alone, retreating to his room. Later, the heroine is at a restaurant and runs into the hero's colleague by chance. The heroine sits with the hero's colleague and asks about her relationship with the hero. The heroine explains that they are friends and share an apartment because their mothers have known each other for a long time. The colleague is delighted and confesses she has a crush on the hero. The heroine is shocked by this revelation. The colleague goes to call the hero to join them, and the heroine takes the opportunity to slip away but forgets her ID card, which the hero finds. He calls her to come to the lab to retrieve it. When she arrives, she overhears him talking to his colleague, who is holding a cat. The hero comments that the cat is beautiful and sweet. The heroine misunderstands, thinking he is talking about his colleague, and feels hurt because he hasn't complimented her in a long time. She walks away angrily, and when the hero tries to talk to her, she responds coldly, leaving him puzzled. He decides to talk to Phoebe to understand her better. When he finds Phoebe with Angie, Phoebe tells him that he no longer loves the heroine and is happy with Angie now. The hero returns home with a gift. The heroine is awake, and he asks if she wants to try his microscope. She agrees, and as they look through it together, they get very close, making the heroine nervous. The hero gives her a gift, and she pretends not to care, but once he leaves the room, she quickly opens it and is thrilled to find a replica of her broken mug. The next day, the hero meets Phoebe at the library and tells him what happened. Phoebe suggests the heroine probably heard him talking about the cat and thought he meant his colleague. To prove his point, the hero brings the cat home and shows it to the heroine, who is delighted but continues to play with the cat and ignore him, which frustrates him. When the heroine learns the hero is allergic to cats, she starts teasing him by getting close with the cat. The hero warns her that if she doesn't stop, he'll kiss her. She retorts that it's not new since he already did it once and runs to her room embarrassed. The hero is left shocked, trying to remember when this happened. The next day, he tells her he's been trying to recall it but can't remember anything, accusing her of joking. The heroine, annoyed, brings him some alcohol from the fridge and forces him to drink it to jog his memory. As soon as he drinks, He remembers everything and tries to get close to her to confirm what he did, but this time she pushes him away and walks off. Later, the hero is at the lab, unable to focus, and shares the incident with the professor. The professor suggests that the hero take the heroine to a romantic place and confess his true feelings to her. During this time, the heroine is at work and unable to concentrate because of what happened. She goes online to take a quiz to confirm if the hero loves her and writes the result on a piece of paper. The hero waits for her outside the company, intending to take her somewhere romantic and confess his feelings. However, he sees the quiz paper and finds that he scored 0. Oh dear, better luck next time, buddy. So he changes his mind and suggests they go for a walk instead. On the way, they see a cat, and the hero tries to show that he has overcome his allergy to impress the heroine. They then go to an amusement park, and the heroine expresses her desire to play the bumper cars. They try it out, and the hero wants to confess his feelings, but the kids keep bumping into him, and he gets frustrated, focusing only on bumping into them and forgetting his confession. When the time is up, the heroine quickly gets out of the car because he is not good at driving. They return home, exhausted. As soon as they arrive, the heroine sits on the couch to rest. The hero puts her slippers on her feet. When he goes to the bathroom and comes back, he finds that she has fallen asleep. He picks her up and takes her to her room. When he places her on the bed, she sleeps on his arm. He doesn't want to wake her, so he stays still for a long time until she finally rolls over. His arm hurts, but he covers her, turns off the light, and leaves. The next morning, the heroine wakes up and finds the hero in the kitchen, preparing her favorite food. She eats happily because he made it himself, which makes her even happier. The hero tries to gather the courage to confess his feelings, but is shocked when she asks if he loves her. Gathering his courage, the hero finally tells her that he loves her. The heroine, feeling shy and embarrassed, is happy that he finally confessed. She is nervous, but admits that she loves him too. The hero is overjoyed to know that she shares his feelings. The heroine, still feeling shy, goes into her room. She's overjoyed yet shy, and she changes her clothes and gets ready to go find him because from now on, she plans to take better care of herself. When he sees her, he's impressed by her appearance but feels too nervous to say anything. Before she leaves for work, he tells her to take care of herself. Well done, that's all you could manage to say. At work, she keeps checking her phone to see if he has messaged her. Come on, send me a message, she thinks. But unfortunately, there's nothing. Meanwhile, he's studying with Wang in the park and tells her that he's tired of studying. He tosses the books aside and rests his head on her lap. Wang still has doubts about his feelings, because she was the one who confessed first. But Fubi reassures her that his feelings are genuine. He leaves, feeling upset that she still doubts him. The heroine finishes work and exits the company, expecting the hero to be waiting for her like usual, but he's not there. She walks to the bus stop feeling disappointed. But here comes the surprise, dear viewer. He's waiting for her there and she's thrilled to see him. However, she's nervous and doesn't know what to say. They get ready to board the bus, and due to the crowd, she bumps into him. The hero offers his hand to help her. They board the bus, and there's only one seat left. He insists that she take it. The heroine notices a couple cuddling on the bus and sneaks glances at the hero, but gets embarrassed and looks out the window instead. The hero keeps his focus on her the entire ride. When she tries to close the window but can't, he moves close to help her shut it. When they reach the apartment, the hero is nervous and accidentally puts on the wrong slippers. When he realizes it, the heroine tries to help him take them off, but he feels embarrassed and removes them himself. She heads to the bathroom, and the hero lights some candles for a romantic dinner. But our clever heroine, when she comes out, asks, "Why did you light candles? We have electricity, just turn on the lights." Then she realizes the situation she's put herself in, turns off the lights again and apologizes, urging him to continue what he was doing. The delivery arrives, and they eat together. However, the heroine struggles with using a fork and knife, so she tells the hero, "We're not fancy like that. Let's just eat with our hands like normal people." After dinner, they watch a horror movie, which is her favorite. It seems like we're also going to love horror movies now, right? The hero tries to get closer and hold her hand, but our heroine is completely absorbed in the movie, detached from the world. He gets up to turn off the lights to make the atmosphere more fitting for a horror film, but she grabs his arm and says, Please don't. I'm already terrified. Why do you watch horror movies if you're so scared? He wonders. Is she just a masochist who wants to scare herself for fun? The hero holds her hand and moves closer. Just then, her phone rings. She goes to answer the call from her friend Wang, who's having an argument with Fubi. Our hero waits for her to finish so they can continue their moment, but she takes too long and he ends up going to his room to sleep. The next day, the heroine goes to work and meets a famous person who is there to film a commercial for her company. She finds messages from the hero checking on her, and she realizes she misses him. She asks him to come to her workplace and bring an envelope she forgot on the desk. Naturally, our hero seizes the opportunity and brings the envelope to her at the filming location. He finds her asleep and sits beside her, letting her rest her head on his shoulder. But then, her manager calls to end the break. She excuses herself from the hero and heads back to the studio, where there's a problem with the outfit being too short for the actor. The heroine starts thinking quickly to solve the issue. The heroine takes the jacket from the hero and gives it to the actor for the commercial shoot. Then, remembering the cold weather, she takes the jacket back and helps the hero put it on, cupping his cheeks and saying, "Feeling chilly, handsome." She leaves him to re-enter the studio, where the hero opens the envelope in the jacket pocket. He finds a picture with "My future husband" written on it. Embarrassed, the heroine explains that her friend admires him and wanted his autograph. He signs the picture for her and tells her she has a bright future in advertising. He even gives her his number in case she needs anything, making the hero feel a pang of jealousy. The heroine then leaves with the hero, holding hands as they walk. They head to a children's play area, where the heroine has always wanted to go, but an adult needs a child to enter. The hero gets creative and borrows a child, calling the heroine "My Little Bunny." They enter and have a fun time playing with the child, laughing and enjoying themselves. Later, as they walk home in the cold, the hero holds her hand to warm her up. They plan to watch a horror movie together, but when they reach home, they find Wang waiting for them. She asks to speak to the hero, but instead, she ends up in the heroine's room, venting about her relationship issues with Fubi. The hero, irritated and wanting to spend time with the heroine, keeps interrupting them under various pretexts, like needing water, tea, or food. His persistence is almost comical, but Wang remains oblivious and stays late, eventually sleeping over. The hero, frustrated, goes to bed. He wakes up thirsty in the middle of the night and heads to the kitchen for a drink. At the same time, the heroine wakes up and, seeing him, calls out. As she walks towards him, she slips, but of course the hero catches her just in time. They share a lingering gaze before he pulls her close. They decide to figure out how to get Wang to leave. The next day, the hero calls Fubi, asking him to come and take Wang away. When the three of them have breakfast together, the hero flirts with the heroine under the table to avoid Wang noticing. Wang announces she has an exam and must leave, much to the hero's delight. The heroine, pretending to be disappointed, insists Wang stay longer. But when Wang leaves, she finds Fubi waiting outside on his motorcycle. He offers to take her to the exam, but she declines and takes a taxi instead, secretly pleased by his attention. During the taxi ride, she keeps looking back to see if Fubi is following her. Stuck in traffic, Fubi suddenly appears, pulls her onto his motorcycle to avoid the delay, and speeds off towards the university. He hands her a helmet, tells her to hold on tight, and drives as fast as he can to get her to the exam on time. He encourages her to focus on the exam as she heads inside. Meanwhile, our main couple finally watches the horror movie they planned to see. They have lunch, do everything together, and even play ping pong, where the hero, despite his academic brilliance, can't manage to beat her. The hero blames the ping pong paddle for losing and refuses to continue, suggesting they take a walk instead. While strolling, the heroine sees some young people skateboarding and is impressed. Feeling a bit jealous, the hero decides to try and impress her by borrowing a skateboard. However, not knowing how to use it, he falls flat on his face. They laugh it off and head home, tired but happy. They stay up late watching TV, each resisting sleep to spend more time with the other. Eventually, the heroine falls asleep on the hero's shoulder and he soon dozes off as well, resting his head on hers. They wake up the next morning, the heroine feeling embarrassed. Pretending to be asleep, she waits until the hero gently wakes her up, teasing her about pretending. The heroine gets ready for work, and the hero heads to the lab. At the lab, the professor introduces them to a new student named Lou, who is studying in Germany and is there to help them with a project that could lead to a scholarship opportunity. Later, the hero meets Phoebe and sees him playing ping pong with Wang. Annoyed that Phoebe never taught him to play, the hero insists that Phoebe now teach him. After the game, he waits outside the heroine's office to walk her home as usual. However, she gets delayed because her manager asked her to give a tour to a model visiting the company. When she finally finishes, she rushes out and hugs the waiting hero. As they walk, the hero confesses his jealousy and asks her not to joke around with her male colleagues. The heroine playfully cups his cheeks, calling him "my little chick." The hero surprises her with a kiss on the cheek, making her happy. She hugs his arm as they head home. Once they arrive, they have dinner and discuss their plans to visit their families during the upcoming holiday. The next day, they go to the train station. The hero feels sad about not seeing her, but they promise to stay in touch and reunite soon. She tells him that she'd prefer to keep in touch and send him messages, and they say their goodbyes. The heroine arrives at her parents' house and eats with her family. She takes pictures of the food and sends them to her boyfriend, sharing every moment with him despite the distance. Meanwhile, the hero arrives at his home and helps his father. Later, they all sit down to eat together as a family. His mother asks him about the heroine, and his father is surprised to learn that there's a girl staying with him in the apartment. But his mother reassures him that they're just friends, and there's nothing between them. However, the hero, with his fearless heart, confidently declares that they're in love and are now in a relationship. That's it. Our guy has finally got himself a girlfriend. Later, the hero calls the heroine. She's reluctant to show her face because she's disheveled and jokingly says she's worried her beauty might make his phone explode. But her mother walks in and tells her to take a shower and change her clothes because the smell is overwhelming the house. She even jokes that her brother fainted outside. The heroine is embarrassed by her mother's comments, and the hero laughs, saying, "My phone really did explode." We then see the heroine celebrating New Year's Eve. The hero, who is still busy studying even during the holidays, tiredly calls her. She hears the sound of fireworks in the background. After 2 weeks, the heroine returns from her vacation. She's surprised that the hero isn't waiting for her, but then she sees him standing in front of her, riding a skateboard. She teases him, asking, "What's this all about? You've grown up." "When did you learn that?" The hero takes her suitcase and says, "Let's go home, my little bunny." They keep sweet-talking each other throughout the series. Oh, poor single viewers. You've got to feel for them. When they get home, the hero hugs her and tells her he missed her. The heroine is overjoyed because she loves sweet talk more than anything. That night, the power goes out and the heroine gets scared. But then our hero appears with a portable generator he invented himself. The heroine is impressed and admires his intelligence. After that, her laptop has a malfunction, so she takes it to the clever hero in his room to fix it. She waits for him, but she ends up falling asleep. This time on the bed, not on his shoulder. Thank goodness for that. A little variety is nice too. The hero finishes fixing the laptop, then goes over to check on her while she's sleeping as usual. He takes her phone, covers her up, and lies down next to her on the bed so he doesn't disturb her. The next morning, they wake up to the sound of their families calling out for them when they realize they're in the house. The hero quickly gets up from the bed, heads to his other room, and has to sneak in through the balcony window so their families don't get the wrong idea. He goes out to greet them warmly, saying, "What brings you here? It's great to see you all." They gather and start discussing their relationship, and the mothers suggest taking the next step, engagement. They propose that the engagement happens today, and the wedding can be after they graduate. They start planning the dowry, the engagement ring, even the color of the walls and curtains. But the hero's mother points out that they forgot one important thing, asking their children what they want. The hero, speaking seriously, tells them that they're adults and know what they're doing, and marriage isn't in their plans right now because they're still studying. The heroine is shocked by his words, upset, but doesn't show it and remains silent. The hero's father agrees that they're still young and should be allowed to live their lives and enjoy themselves. The families then decide to leave. Meanwhile, the hero is sitting and waiting for his exam results, feeling tense. Fortunately, they find out they've passed, and Wong is so happy that she hugs Pu Bi in joy, but then feels like she was too hasty and starts to pull away. But Fu Bi reassures her by holding her hand and hugging her again, deciding not to waste any more time. Later, the heroine is at work, where a famous girl is filming a commercial. The girl treats the heroine dismissively, asking her to fetch tea and juice, and then calls her lazy. But then, the well-known director steps in, forcing the girl to treat the heroine kindly, threatening to expose her as arrogant and conceited in the news. After filming ends, the arrogant girl invites all the staff to lunch to make amends. Being polite, the heroine calls her beloved to ask for permission. He agrees to pick her up in an hour. At lunch, the heroine drinks a lot because she's nervous, so much so that she can't even stand up. The famous guy tries to help her, but the hero arrives just in time, saying, "What's this, buddy? That's my girlfriend, it's not right." He picks her up and takes her home. When they get there, he tucks her in and leaves. The next day, the heroine wakes up, checks her phone, and quickly starts getting dressed, thinking she's late for work. But as she's about to leave, the hero asks, "Where are you going? Don't you even know that today's a holiday?" She feels pretty silly and says, "Well, I'll just go back to bed then." But he doesn't let her off the hook and scolds her for drinking too much the previous night, telling her not to make a habit of it and not to get too close to anyone at work. She agrees, jokingly saying, "Yes, sir, your orders are my command." She goes to change her clothes, and they have breakfast together as they prepare for their graduation exams. The heroine attends the hero's graduation exam and watches as he confidently answers the professor's questions, feeling proud of him. When he finds out she's proud of him too, she also mentions that she's planning to have lunch with her friends to celebrate their graduation. The hero says, "Fine, I'll treat you to lunch," and orders a lot of food so he doesn't come off as stingy. Her friends arrive and they all eat together, having a great time. After lunch, the hero goes to pay the bill, but the meal turns out to be quite expensive. He ends up paying with everything he has on him, poor guy, until he's completely broke. Meanwhile, Pu Bi is at a restaurant with his father, who introduces him to the daughter of a friend, hoping to set them up, but Fu Bi responds coldly, saying he's already dating someone more beautiful. Just then, Yang arrives, and he grabs her hand, introducing her as his girlfriend. His father gets angry, saying, "How dare you defy me? I'll cut you off financially." Pu Bi ignores him and gets ready to leave. His father, enraged, throws a plate at him, but Yang shields him with her back, getting hit instead. Fu Bi is touched by her act and checks if she's okay. She reassures him, and they leave the restaurant together. Later, the heroine is at home, telling the hero she's hungry. He gives her water to drink as he's out of money after spending it all on their meal. Then, the heroine discovers a bag of pasta in the kitchen. She says, "That's it, I'm channeling my inner chef," and they manage to cook a meal together. The next day, they prepare for their graduation party. The hero wears his graduation cap, and the heroine helps him tie his tie, making him happy. When they arrive at the university, he leaves her with her friends, saying he'll go meet his lab mates. The heroine notices Pu Bi giving flowers to Yang, and all the guys seem to be doing the same for their girlfriends, except for her. No one's paying her any attention, so she goes to find the hero to confront him. But at that moment, the hero is in the lab, taking photos with his classmates and professor. When they finish, he goes to the library to send the heroine a message telling her where he is. However, when she arrives, she sees one of his female classmates fixing the tie that she had worked so hard on earlier that morning. Jealous and upset, she storms off. The hero follows her, trying to make up by giving her a bouquet of flowers, but she refuses to forgive him. Eventually, Pu Bi and Yang grab her and force her to take a picture with the hero in the library. The hero mimics her gestures to make her smile, but she still walks away. He follows her to the sports field, trying to explain that he's innocent and that his classmate acted on her own. He gets closer to her and, well, you know what happens next. The heroine finally gives in, saying they're even now, and they walk off hand in hand. After everything that happened, it was inevitable. They go to play, and the heroine teases him, saying, Looks like you didn't learn your lesson from last time. He responds confidently, "Try me." But little does she know that our hero has improved and even surpasses her skills, managing to reclaim his honor by defeating her. Later, Wang is waiting for Pooh B outside their dorm. She sees his father and tries to talk to him, hoping to mend his relationship with his son. However, he dismisses her, saying that his son can't survive without his money and will eventually come back to him. When that happens, he plans to force Pooh B to give her up. But Wang laughs it off, saying that Pooh B has grown up and doesn't need his father's money anymore, as he's planning to start his own company. Just then, Pooh B arrives, expecting his father to scold him, but instead, his father surprises him by giving him advice about the new business. He even tells Pooh B to reach out if he needs anything. Pooh B thanks him and says he plans to rely on himself, then leaves with Wang. The heroine goes to collect her things from the dorm since she's graduating. She runs into the dorm supervisor, who remembers her because she was always late. The supervisor mentions she knows a handsome guy who works with her husband in the lab, clearly referring to the hero. The heroine smiles, thanking her but politely declining, saying she already has a boyfriend. The hero then helps her carry her bags as they head home. At home, the heroine finds a large sum of money in her bag that she had forgotten about. She tells the hero they should put it to good use, and they decide to spend it wisely. They go to the mall and buy a bunch of items to redecorate their apartment. When they return, they spend time decorating together, enjoying the process. After finishing, they collapse onto the bed, exhausted but happy, gazing at each other sweetly. Later, the heroine decides to wash the bed sheets. The hero offers to sleep on the couch so she can have the bed, but she refuses, saying she's used to sleeping on the couch. However, while trying to sleep, she accidentally hurts her ear. The hero checks on her and says, "If you don't sleep in the room, I'll sleep on the couch with you." She runs to her room and locks herself in, but later that night, she wakes up to a noise in the living room. When she checks, she finds the hero struggling to sleep on the couch since he's not used to it. She tells him to come sleep beside her on the bed, saying that they need to trust each other. He agrees, feeling tense at first, but eventually falls asleep from exhaustion. This time, it's the heroine who stays up, watching him. The next day at work, the heroine is shocked when her friend informs her that their boss published her work under someone else's name. She's upset because all her hard work and effort went to someone else. She returns home, feeling defeated, and the hero notices something is off. He asks if she's feeling unwell, and she vents to him about what happened, frustrated. He hugs her, trying to comfort her, but she pulls away, accusing him of not understanding how she feels. This hurts the hero, and he leaves her alone. Later that night, while the hero is watching a horror movie, the heroine sits beside him, attempting to make amends, but the hero, still upset, avoids her. She feels like she's becoming a burden and starts crying, which softens the hero's heart. He forgives her, but she's still not satisfied. So he jokingly offers his arm for her to bite to vent her frustration. She takes the opportunity to leave a playful mark on his arm, which he promises to remember. The hero then hugs her and kisses her forehead, telling her that he's willing to hack into the company's system to make sure her name gets credit. She laughs and tells him it's not that serious. The next day, the hero goes to the lab and informs his colleagues that the results for the scholarship will be announced today. The professor arrives with their German colleague and announces that the hero has scored the highest marks and won the scholarship. One of his friends is disappointed because he wanted the scholarship too, but the professor encourages him to try again next year. The professor then sits with the hero, advising him to inform his family about the scholarship and travel plans. The hero begins to worry about how he will break the news to his girlfriend. Later, he meets her at the university and takes her to the lab to tell her. To lighten the mood, he puts his lab coat on her and then reveals, "I passed and will have to travel to Germany for further studies in 2 weeks." Contrary to his expectations, the heroine congratulates him at first, but then the reality hits her, and she asks how long he'll be gone. He tells her 6 months. She gets upset and scolds him for keeping the travel plans a secret, but he explains that he wasn't sure if he'd win the scholarship. Despite understanding, she's still hurt, takes off the lab coat, and leaves the lab, telling him not to follow her. She was happy just a moment ago, but her emotions are all over the place now. Later that night, The group of friends gathers for one last time after graduation. The hero tries to cheer up the heroine, but she's still upset with him and stays quiet. The day ends and the hero pretends to be drunk and out of his senses so he can get closer to her. She knows he's faking it, but still supports him back home. When they arrive, he apologizes for hiding the travel plans from her and assures her that she's more important to him than the scholarship. He even says he's willing to give up the trip for her. Touched by his words, she hugs him and admits that she'll miss him, but that she can't stand in the way of his future. She promises to wait for him until he returns, and he's genuinely happy to hear that. The next day, she goes with him to the hospital for his travel medical tests. When it's time for the blood test, the hero, who's squeamish about blood, wears sunglasses to hide his discomfort. After the shot, the heroine notices he's bleeding from the injection site and quickly grabs some cotton to clean the wound. When they get home, she jokingly suggests, "I'll hide in your suitcase, and you can take me with you." The hero picks her up, hugs her, and says, "I know you'll miss me, but not that much. I won't be gone for long." As the day of his departure arrives, she accompanies him to the airport, trying to stretch out their time together as long as possible. When it's time for his flight, she can't hold back her tears and breaks down. The hero hugs her tightly, asking her to take care of herself. She forces a smile, saying goodbye, but as she walks away, she's visibly heartbroken. Afterward, she returns to the company and with her friend confronts the manager, demanding that they get proper credit for their work. When the manager refuses, they both resign and leave together. Meanwhile, the hero arrives at his new job in Germany, wearing a suit and sunglasses, looking like a successful businessman. But the office is empty except for one person, Wang, who suggests he take out a loan to hire staff and properly run the company. Back at home, the heroine's mother moves in with her to keep her company. The hero calls her via video chat from Germany, reassuring her that he's doing well. During the call, a beautiful foreign girl appears in the background and asks the hero to date her, but he politely declines, saying he already has a girlfriend. Afterward, the heroine discovers a note from her boyfriend saying that she can travel to visit him, but there's a condition. Her mom has to approve. She goes to ask her mom, who agrees, but only if she convinces him to get married. The heroine jokes, "Don't worry, your daughter's got this. She'll know how to reel him in." She packs her bags and flies to Germany the next day to surprise him. When the hero returns to his place, he's worried because he's been trying to call the heroine and sending her messages, but she hasn't responded. As he enters his room, he's shocked to find her sleeping on his bed. He can't quite believe it, so he quietly covers her with a blanket to make sure she's comfortable. Of course, he indulges in his favorite pastime from the series, watching her sleep. The next morning, the heroine wakes up and is surprised to see her favorite mug beside her, not realizing that the hero brought it with him to remind him of her. At that moment, the hero is talking with the foreign girl again, who's still trying to convince him to be with her because she doesn't believe he has a girlfriend. But suddenly, the heroine appears, hugs the hero, and tells the girl that she's his girlfriend. The girl is embarrassed and leaves. After that, the couple sits down and talks, and the hero asks her to get dressed because they're going somewhere. He takes her to a church, leaving the heroine confused about why they're there. The hero surprises her by holding her hand and proposing, asking her to spend her life with him. She agrees, of course, and they're both thrilled to finally be married. But when they return home, the heroine playfully takes on the role of the nagging wife. She complains, saying, "You tricked me! You didn't give me a wedding, no dress, not even a ring!" The hero pretends to faint, and she starts playfully hitting him to snap him out of it. He grabs her hand, and we all know what happens next. After 6 months, they pack their bags and return to their home country. While unpacking, the hero tells her he married her there to prove he couldn't live without her, but they still need to have a proper wedding and invite all their friends and family. They go and take a photo for their marriage certificate. Back at home, the heroine starts looking for a new job after quitting her last one, but her chivalrous husband tells her not to worry about it and hands her his credit card, saying, "Spend whatever you want, darling." The heroine is surprised to learn that he received a large sum of money from the scholarship. She's happy her husband isn't stingy, but she promises him that she won't spend much and will save the money. Switching back to our hero Fubi, he's out walking with his girlfriend along the Corniche. He surprises her by getting down on one knee, showing her a ring, and proposing. She's shocked and will pretend to be surprised too, but she says yes. Phoebe is overjoyed, picks her up, and spins her around in disbelief. The wedding day arrives and our handsome hero wears a sharp suit. The heroine appears in her wedding dress, looking like a dream. The hero takes her hand and tells her he loves her. Then they hop in the car, and she drives them off. Their friends follow in another car, all of them happy. 3 years later, we see them living together with their adorable son, Mo, and the three of them live happily ever after. And with that, the series ends. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed our recap, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out more recaps on our channel. Take care.